feeling like I'm back in my damn mind. Tell the feeling like I'm rapping a damn lie. Tell the feeling like my life is a damn game.
Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a psychological mystery drama film, Enemy. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a bearded man, called Professor for short, listening to his mother's voicemail message while driving. A pregnant woman emerges as if chaos is about to get unfolded. A few moments later, Professor and his companions walk down the hallway, unlocking the door at their right to witness the erotic show. As Professor and his companions settle into their seats, two more ladies enter the room with a covered tray. Seconds later, the ladies undress their bodies and begin uncovering the tray. A spider is then unleashed in the tray. While the spider crawls and enjoys its freedom, one of the ladies crushes it with her foot, which seems to depict a puzzling misery. One day, Professor briskly walks on a college campus hall to fulfill his job. In the lecture hall, he teaches his students about history and dictatorship. After his classes, he heads home to relieve himself from the tiring day. As the night gets darker, his hormone partner, short-named girlfriend, arrives in the apartment. Professor welcomes her with a welcoming hug. They then eat together and enjoy the conversation. When it is about time to sleep, they kiss each other until they kick off the official exercises. The pattern continues the following day. Every morning is a new day for the professor to do his job, and every night is the time where he meets his girlfriend to celebrate their feast. As the professor's routine continues each day, one of the colleagues approaches him, asking if he likes movies. He then responds to welcome some movie suggestions. That moment, his colleague recommends a film entitled, When There's a Will, There's a Way. Upon hearing the said title, he stops at the movie shop to rent and get the movie piece. In the apartment, Professor is checking some schoolwork while his girlfriend goes to bed earlier. He then watches the movie recommended by his colleague. Later, he goes to his bedroom and engages in another round of game. Consequently, girlfriend puts her clothes on and begins avoiding his presence. As Professor sleeps, a movie scene plays in his mind. Next, he grabs his laptop to rewatch the film again. After viewing the film, he gets mesmerized and fixated on one scenario. He is astonished to see the character in the movie that looks exactly like him. The next day, his usual routine resumes. He arrives at the room late and does his job to teach history subjects. Upon arriving home, he shuts the blinds in his apartment and opens the laptop for the same movie. He still cannot move on to a particular scene showing a man with the same physical look. Due to his curiosity, he proceeds to search the name and the details of that lookalike individual. The most awaited moment arrives when he finally gets the information and the address of the lookalike individual in the movie, nicknamed actor. Furthermore, the professor searches for other movies of the actor. When he gets the needed information about the movie titles, he quickly goes to the movie rental shop to watch the film. Bothered and bewildered, he goes into the shower, trying to recalibrate the discovery. He keeps on looking at the actor's profile and even compares it to one of his photos. With all these discoveries, he writes down the address of the actor's talent agency. With all the confusion, Professor plans to visit the said address. Then he drives to the talent agency in pursuit of seeing the lookalike actor, and waits for someone else to come inside the building so he can enter. Tension arises when the security guard notices him. The security guard assumes that he is the actor. Out of nervousness, Professor starts fabricating lies and assumes that he is the actor. He insists that the reason for visitation is to pick up something in the office. The security guard hands him an envelope, which contains the actor's information. The moment the professor opens the envelope, he learns the actor's real name and address. The findings lead him to drive and go to the actor's home. When he arrives at the parking lot, he starts counting the floors to see which rooms belong to the actor. Moments later, Professor digs deeper into the confusing discovery by calling the number on the payphone. Surprisingly, the actor's wife, short-named wife, picks up the phone and begins talking to him. Amazed by the happenings, Professor asks if the actor can speak to the phone right now. Wife gets confused since the professor's voice is the same as his husband's voice, actor. As the conversation gets confusing, Professor hangs up the phone. He decides to go home as pressure arises because of the said discovery. Upon arriving at his home, he dials the actor's phone number, hoping to speak with the actor. This time the actor answers the phone, but hangs up quickly. Professor dials the phone once more, and gets an answer from the actor. He gets so excited and begins telling the actor that they sound the same and look identical. He introduces himself as a history professor, and expresses his desire to meet the actor. As this happens, the actor's wife sees him speaking on the phone, and starts believing that it was cheating or an affair. Actor insists that the one on the phone is some crazy professor who insists that they look and sound the same. He yells at wife and goes outside for a walk because of the accusations. Due to the disturbing call, actor further investigates the matter by searching the professor's information before sleeping. As the night gets darker, wife secretly roams and explores to solve the puzzling incidents. She discovers a piece of paper in the actor's clothes that contain the professor's information. One day, professor goes to the university early in the morning. He still can't move on with the newest findings, which could be part of his identity. Not long after, professor gets a call from the actor. He is astounded as the actor finally decides to meet him. Not long after, professor goes outside to recollect his thoughts. Little does he know that actor's wife is also roaming in the university. While professor sits on the bench for a breath of fresh air, wife suddenly witnesses professor's presence. Terrified and confused, she sits on the bench next to him. Seconds later, professor greets her just like an ordinary stranger. They begin talking casually as strangers, with professor not knowing she's actually the actor's wife. On the contrary, wife needs to compose herself even though professor's appearance looks the same as his husband's. She attempts to call actor to double check, but she receives an answer when professor is already out of sight. When wife arrives home, she is still speechless and enigmatic about the said revelation. She lays down on the couch, looking worried. As this happens, actor asks her to tell the melancholy. She tells him that she visited professor's workplace. She is bothered, thinking that a secret needs to be unveiled. She confesses that she has seen the lookalike professor. With these sentiments, actor emphasizes that he is also not aware of what was happening. On the other hand, a naked woman with a spider head appears in the professor's dream. He gets awakened by the said nightmare in the middle of the night. Finally, the time has come for the professor to meet the actor. As he walks down the hallway to their meeting place, he sees a girl walking, similar to his dream. He then enters the room with a dire atmosphere. He sits on the bed and stands up to see shadows underneath the door. The door opens halfway and the actor peeks through it. The actor slowly enters and walks towards the professor. As the corners of the room get intense, they compare their hands only to determine that it is also the same. Actor suddenly realizes that maybe they are brothers or twins. Furthermore, he also shows the scar on the chest and begins asking if the professor had the same scar. Professor swiftly gets terrified by the events and rushes out of the room. The confrontation ends when the professor proceeds to his car, while the actor drives the motorcycle. When actor arrives at his home, he notices wife, who is still confused by the occurrences. He tells wife to never worry about the professor anymore. Additionally, he begins to stalk the professor's girlfriend. He secretly follows the girlfriend's smelly hormones and watches her directions. At the train, actor quietly observes and gazes at the sexy girlfriend. Meanwhile, girlfriend has no idea that someone is following her moves. The building's large windows allow the actor to sneak while the girlfriend is working. While this is happening, professor visits his mother to answer all the perplexing episodes. The mother responds that he is the only son. She tells him that he should drop the obsession immediately and prefers not to talk about it. After the conversation, the skyline shows a giant spider, which seems to tell that someone is trapped on the verge of confusion and mysteries. Moments later, actor is in front of the bathroom mirror, appearing to be rehearsing some lines. He then goes to the professor's apartment to ask him questions. He asks professor about invading his life and stalking his wife. The chaos arises when the actor accuses the professor of sleeping with his wife. Professor gets shocked by the questions, and it only responds that they just talked on the phone. Due to the uncomfortable questions, professor demands him to go out of his place. However, actor is still stubborn, believing that an affair happened between his wife and the professor. Commotion climbs when the actor still accuses and starts manipulating the professor. At this point, he even proposes to borrow professor's girlfriend for a romantic one-night stand. Without any delay, actor abruptly gets the professor's clothes for him to look like professor ideally. Meanwhile, as an exchange, professor is left alone in the apartment, deciphering the chaos. He goes to the actor's apartment and pretends to be the actor. He looks through the closet and changes into the actor's clothes. He puts his clothes inside the closet and sees a picture in the living room. Time passes, wife arrives and assumes that professor is the actor. Next, wife changes her clothes before going to bed. She invites professor to bed, thinking that this is the actor. As professor is taking his clothes off, wife notices something different. When they are lying with each other, she slowly traces professor's arm and touches the body. At this point, she finally recognizes that the person in the apartment is not the actor, but the professor. Meanwhile, the actor is celebrating the erotic desires with the girlfriend. In the middle, the girlfriend freaks out after seeing the ring mark on the actor's finger, which leads her to understand that the person is not the professor. They immediately pack their things and drive their way home. On the contrary, Professor wakes up crying on the couch. Wife also stands up to comfort him. Professor surprisingly apologizes, which depicts a confession. Unhesitatingly, wife prefers him and asks him to stay instead. While actor and girlfriend are in the vehicle, an argument emerges, shouting at each other. In just a few seconds, car accident takes place that ends their shitty lives. Simultaneously, Professor and wife engage in a passionate manifestation of love, glorifying their desires. The following day, a report is heard on the radio about a car crash, signifying the end of the actor's life and Professor's girlfriend. The movie ends when Professor takes over the life of the actor. While wife is taking a shower, he gracefully wears the suit for a new identity. As he observes himself in the mirror, he opens the envelope only to figure out a key. The key is the ticket for the underground sex club shown at the beginning. He then asks wife's permission to go later at night, but right then he gets a glimpse of the same giant spider haunting him again. It can be reasonably surmised that the professor and the actor are just one person. The professor falls into an affair with a girl in the sex club. While being a decent college professor and trying to maintain the affair, he lies all about his true identity and hallucinates the so-called actor to act as his sinful side, so as to maintain the affair with the girl. At last, afraid of getting caught and awakened by the guilt to his wife, he tries to kill the hallucinated actor with a car crash. After that, however, by the time he sees the sex club key and the spider head monster, the flame of his lust desire is reignited, causing him to realize that he's actually the enemy of himself. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.